Hello and welcome to this very first episode of Pat Chat, my new video cast. And I'm very happy for this first episode that I could invite someone that is partly responsible that I'm doing this video interviews, or basically a real life interviews it should be, but due to the coronavirus, I had to change a little bit. So thank you very much, Homam Alghorani, for being my first guest.
Hi, Patrick. First, I want to congratulate you for what you call it, Pat Chat.
Pat's Chat, yes, very
Pat's Chat.
simple. Yeah.
Yeah. Great name, I think. Yeah, thank you. It's an honor to be your first guest, right? I'm your first guest.
Yeah, first guest.
Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
It's an honor, and I'm glad you have started this video cast and you continue the trip, which I start with you last time. But
Yes.
due to travel and some I got busy, so I couldn't continue. But I'm glad that you managed to you pick up from there and continue with that.
Yeah, let's see. I mean, I just started, as I said, I got the concept together. So then I thought, like, who should be the first guy? And as I said, I'm very honored. The honor's mine, basically, that you found the time. I think it's quite troublesome time for the moment, but we come back to that a little bit later. First of all, of course, like we always started our Startups.Zone's interviews, I want to know from you who you are. And you're from Syria, that's I know, but tell me a little bit about your life back then in Syria, how you grow up.
Okay, let me think. I had my life was not like very ordinary. Maybe where to start? Childhood, like I was the eldest. I have four siblings, so I'm the eldest one. I studied. I was not like in the beginning. I was a very good student, but when I moved to maybe the high school, I start not to be that good. Like in primary school, I was, you can say, straight A student, so I always get high uh, grades. But when I progressing with my study, I think it was going down. Uh, I would say my childhood was like normal childhood in compared to the Middle East. Maybe when you compare to other countries, it's a bit different. But I would say it was like normal. So I was like very active kid. I used to run and play all day, and I like to talk a lot. So that get me a lot in trouble in school. So so I studied in public schools, and there, they are very strict. And that time, the beating was okay. So I used to get punished almost every single day
So
because
there's
I'm
caning.
talking.
There's
Yeah,
caning.
yeah.
Wow. Okay.
So because it's sometimes for silly reasons when I think about it now, like because I used to talk to whoever sitting next to me. So I used to talk to them a lot, and if the teachers see me like that, I will get punished. Well, I don't really much blame them because like our classes was crowded. So if every student want to talk, it's going to be a mess. Like we used to be in average 50 students in 50 in one class, and yeah. So it was the norm at that time. Like it's not like something against me, but anybody who do this kind of things will be punished. Yeah.
I understand. So at that time, was there, you're in your 30s, right? So was there any conflict already? You grew up with like the conflicts or war pieces that were around at that time already?
Okay. I will tell you a bit about Syria. So most of my life, until I think the age of 23, I was living in Syria. So Syria was, like, you can say, very peaceful country. There was no war. We don't have like gun culture. Nobody like almost own a gun or anything. But at the same time, it was like under dictatorship. So it's like there's no crimes. If you talk about the crime rate, it was very low. Like it's one of the safest countries in the world. But at the same time, if you speak your mind, if you disagree with the government, if you criticize the president, if you make a political joke, that will have very, very, very serious consequences on you and sometimes on your family as well. So at age of 23, so I was studying after high school. I studied like a diploma in computer engineering. Then it was for 2 years, but in Syria, the law is after you finish your studies, you have to go for military service for 2.5 years. So I didn't want to go to military because, like, my nature, I don't like to follow orders. I don't like. I like to think for myself and decide for myself what I want to do. And if you're talking about military basically tell you shut this down and follow the orders. And that's something and you know, if you talk about our army is different maybe from US Army or some European armies, is there will be a lot of there will be actually no human rights and the conditions are very terrible. So I at that time also my brother he started some to be active in politics, so he got arrested and I decided after that the best thing for me is to leave the country, because sometimes even if you had nothing to do with anything, if one of your family members got involved in this kind of thing, it's like a curse on the whole family. So with torture, with anything happen to him, he can say anything they want him to say. So I decided to leave the country, and I managed to. So I was looking. I wanted always to study abroad. So I wanted to go to UK, but I find I cannot afford that. Need to pay like the full tuition for non-EU countries plus the living cost, and if you compare it with our uh, income in Syria, it's I won't be able to make it. So I find another choice, which is Malaysia. So I find there are some private university offer you a UK degree, and the living cost in Malaysia is much cheaper. Also the tuition fee. So I decided to go to Malaysia, and I had some friends who went there previously, and they told me it's like it's okay, it's good. So when I came to Malaysia, I came in 2005. So now I'm almost 15 years in Malaysia, and yeah, I didn't plan to stay 15 years, but one thing led to another. After finishing study here, I studied computer science, and then the war started. Then it's obvious that there's no going back, and yeah.
I understand. So 23, you came here, and well, obviously due to political reasons, right? So can I ask, your brother is still, I mean, in prison, or how did this
Well,
story
he
end?
was in prison for some time, like 5-6 years, without any like court or any, you know, like it's like they will just catch anybody and he will disappear. Like,
Okay,
so he was
understand.
there for 5-6 years. Then suddenly one day we find him at our door knocking. They released him.
Wow.
At
Okay.
that time, also the Syrian civil war or revolution
Yeah.
started, and then he joined the rebels. So
Okay.
then he disappeared again. Then one day on Facebook, I think one of his friends sent a photo to my mother. We find his photo with those photos which was released by one uh, one defected agent from the Syrian army, who released at that time around 11,000 pictures for people who were arrested and tortured and died in the Syrian prisons. So he was one of them. Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy. Wow, that's a big story. Yeah. Sorry to hear that, Homam. Yeah, I wasn't aware about that, even though I know you for some time already. So I can understand that after you relocated here to Malaysia at 23 and you studied here, there was no big motivation to go back, right? As you said, the civil war also started at that time.
Yeah, so civil war started. If you go back, you will be sent to the military and you have to kill your own people. And I don't want to kill anybody. I don't want also anybody to kill me. And at that time also I had a family, so I got married just after I graduated. So it was arranged marriage. And I had a daughter, but also after a few years that marriage didn't work out. So and my ex-wife, we divorced, and she took my daughter with her. Then I was still in Malaysia, so I can't go back because the military thing and the war situation. So after that few years, I got married again, and now I have another daughter with my wife. So my wife is Malaysian, and since then, maybe I will tell you about my entrepreneur to light up the mood. I don't want it to go.
Yeah, sure,
Uh,
yeah. No, I didn't
yeah,
want to dig too
yeah,
deep into that. I mean, yeah, I know.
yeah, but
I met your
it's like
wife.
a
I met your
chapter.
daughter. It's like
Mm, yeah,
now more peaceful here. I understand.
yeah, yeah,
So I think we
correct.
can put like
Mm.
the topic to an end here. Yes,
Yeah,
of
but
course.
the problem is that not the problem. The thing is, everything happened at the same time. So, I actually after I graduated from the university in 2000, I finished my exam in end of 2008, and just after a few months, I was intern for a local company for a few months. Then me and my classmate, who we were working at the same company. Uh, I was telling him, why don't we start our own company and do like whatever all these small companies or startups doing? And we were researching, me and him, on interactive uh, interactive surfaces, like how to make any surface interactive. So he's like, this need a lot of money. You are crazy. How we can leave our jobs? We just got this job, and we should just focus on our job. Like, we are foreigners as well in Malaysia. Like, we have no connection. We just graduated. Like, nobody will take us seriously. And I'm like, I don't think so. So from long time ago, even now I do Startup Zone, but from long time ago, I was a blogger actually. That time,
Oh, okay.
before social media, blogging was like the main thing. So I used to have a blog, and it was kind of famous at that time, especially in the Middle East, because I blog in Arabic language.
Okay.
So I just posted like, me and my friend, we can do this kind of thing. We can do this research. We want to take it to a product and release it to a market and create an interactive table. And believe it or not, just after 15 minutes from posting that post, I received an email from a Syrian who work in Japan. He's like a PhD uh, guy who work in one Japanese construction companies, and he has so many patents. And he seems he was like in his 40s, so he seems like he wanted to do something. He's like sick of working for corporates, and he want to go to a startup or entrepreneurship. At that time, when I graduated and did that, I didn't really know all these words: entrepreneurship, startup. I just we were just discovering the thing. So yeah, after a few weeks, he funded us, and I started my first company.
Wow, nice.
Just like that. And that my friend who called me crazy to think about starting a company, I asked him to join, and he was a very good developer, and we worked together, and we received even a few awards on what we have done. And we managed to, after like 1 year, of course, during the starting a company, we had no idea. We were so naive. We had no idea how difficult starting a company is. We got it
Yeah.
easy in the beginning by getting investment, and that thing actually backfired after that. But we were like, for 1 year, almost has like very little income. We were negative, and we were learning everything from scratch. Like, at that time, we don't know what is an invoice. We don't know what is a PO or purchase order. How to write a business plan. We had zero experience in business. We just some geeky programmers student who just graduated, and now starting a business, and now doing because we do B2B, so we're doing contracts, like sometimes 500,000 ringgit contract, and we really have no idea. And then yeah, we have to learn everything. And I think because we are so naive, and sometimes being naive is a blessing, you don't know how difficult it is, and then you dare to try. And this is what we did.
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
Because we had no idea how difficult it is, we just tried.
Nice,
But
nice.
sometimes when you know how difficult, you will think many times before
Yeah,
you start
yeah, yeah,
something.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
but
sometimes maybe it's a good to have the balance, right? Someone who just like pushes, with a certain amount of naivety, and then
mm,
but other guys like have like more like a structured approach, which can
mm,
give the input and the ideas like how to do things.
yeah.
So do you think like, well, okay, you started your own company like at very young age, just after university,
Mm.
and I assume like that experience also helped you like to go to the next venture, even the first one was maybe not, well, you can say it's successful because you sold stuff, right? So you made some money from it.
Actually, yeah, I we sold some stuff, but I learned also a very
Mm,
valuable lesson is when you start a company and you having a co-founder. I think the most important thing to me, like, do not ask about skills, don't care about, the most important thing is you must make sure that person share the same vision with you.
mm,
Like, you have to set what is our ultimate goal, you and the investor. So if you want to bring investor along with your in your company, you have to discuss this very, you have to ask all these tough questions.
mm,
So you need to make sure you are aligned on the same goal, because let's say if we have conflict together, we can always refer to the vision. Like, is this something we are trying to do or we are not agreeing on? Is this going to bring us closer to our goal or closer to our what we want to be, or is it not? So if we agree on the goal, and we can always, when we have a discussion, we can see, and then that will be our reference point. But if we never agree on what our end goal, then it's going to be very difficult and messy situation. Like,
mm,
you have to know, is my goal, for example, to sell this company, like to exit and sell and let somebody acquire this? Or is your goal, for example, it could be a social cause or whatever? So if, let's say, if you have two partners, one is driven by the social impact and one is driven by the money, for sure these two is very tough for them to work together.
I
And sometimes
understand that.
also when you bring an investor, it will get more complicated. So I learned a very valuable lesson, because at the end we find ourselves, each one has a different vision, different direction want to go. So the investor, they just want his money back and a profit on that. And my friend doesn't care about the innovation. He don't mind selling the company or having a new CEO running our company and we become employees. And I was like, no, this is my passion. I just want to do what I love technology, this is what I want. So we had a conflict, and that's,
Mm,
I think, the most valuable lesson
yeah, yeah.
I learned from that experience.
Okay, that's awesome. Yeah, I
Yeah,
remember we had a couple of discussions in the past.
yeah,
Exactly. I think these main points, right?
mm,
When you start up, go with a co-founder or more co-founders, or go alone. And then the
mm,
second discussion is around like bringing investors in, or like what is like the idea of bringing investors in. And I think
mm,
it's a very good summary, and also gives some idea with your experience that you had in the past, why this or that version can work, or can maybe also can fail, right? Let me bring next question up, because that might
sure.
fit into this time when you start this company.
Yeah,
So now most of the people know you as the Hologram Man.
yeah.
That's also how you brand yourself a little bit. How did that
Mm.
come up? At what time, or what was the point that someone called you like this?
Okay, so you know Diogo, right?
Yes, I know. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. He's actually the first man to
Oh.
call me the hologram man. So
Okay.
at that time, I sublet part of my office, and Diogo like rented. So we were working together. He doing his media stuff. I was doing my own stuff. So when one day I came to the office and he say, "Hi, hologram man," then he's like the first person, and I kind of like it. I like the name. So yeah, then some people start to call me the hologram man. But since then, like now, I kind of moved on. I
Yes.
it was a part of something I was working on and trying, but I moved on like to artificial intelligence and
Mhm.
uh, automation and this kind of thing. So now maybe do you want me to talk about why I went to Singapore and what I'm working on right now?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
That was a good transition of what you just made. So
Mm,
yeah, last year you announced, and I was a bit surprised
mm,
by the announcement that you're going to take a new position in Singapore. So I
mm.
think you started around last year or beginning this year. But maybe you tell yourself what really happened. What was the trigger for that? And
Okay.
especially what you're doing. I mean, that's
Mm,
also
mm.
interesting.
Well, okay. Let me think how I started. Okay, I will call, because you have one thing you mentioned to me about what I call as a home. So I call my Malaysia as a home, and but the things was not working very well because the economy was not so good in the past, I think, 2 years, and the business was like going down every by time passing, and I was at a point I was kind of depressed and I need like a fresh start. So I heard about this entrepreneur first. I heard about a lot of accelerator, but I don't care before because I was focused on working alone and bootstrapping, and I don't want investors. But I heard about this accelerator. They call entrepreneur first, who invest in people. They don't require you to have a company or idea or anything. They just bring like this is how they advertise themselves. And they just bring the brightest minds in the world and put them together and let them do ideation, work together to come up with new ideas and new companies. So their selection process is very tough. Like from every 10 application, they will shortlist 3 people and interview them. And from every 3 interview, they will pick one person. So I don't know. I just applied, and I never thought they will pick me. Then I was surprised. They called me and they asked me for interview, and then I did the interview. I was thinking maybe I didn't do it so well there. And then next thing I know, they accepted me. So I thought, why not? I go there, I meet new people, and maybe I learn something because I didn't talk about my whole story, the whole history, but I started like 4 companies, and every time I won't call it I failed, but I didn't reach where I wanted to go. And I learned a lot of valuable lessons on the way. So I thought, why not? I just give it a try and go there. So I went there around January this year. And yeah, it was like a really amazing experience. And I don't want to like brag or be arrogant, but I used to feel like when I sit with group of people, like I'm kind of the smartest person in the group. But when I went there, that does not apply anymore. I sometimes feel like I'm the least smart person there because really very amazing people, very smart people from all over the world, from India, from China, from Australia, from UK, from Singapore, from Malaysia. Maybe there was no. Maybe I was like the only person representing Malaysia. There was another guy, but he dropped off. So we didn't really. I met him in KL, but we didn't manage to meet him there in the
Mm,
cohort. So they ask us to work on something with deep tech. So deep tech usually like involves stuff like biotech, medtech, artificial intelligence, data analytics, things like that. They don't care like much about starting a mobile app or e-commerce website. They consider that like a shallow tech. So they want something based on research and based on very like deep understanding of industry, like something is not easy to replicate. So they usually select 2 type of people with domain and technical background, like people who has a PhD, let's say in chemistry or biotech, and people who they call them catalysts, like people who can build products so fast, people who has connections. Even catalysts, they divide them to 2 parts, like a catalyst doer and catalyst talker. So they put me as a catalyst doer because from my background, I'm very good in building prototypes very fast. I'm very
mhm,
fast learner. I can like build an MVP in few weeks or few days. So this is where I fit in. So during that I was working. So how the thing work, like you it's like, to me, like speed dating. So you will meet those people, you find where the people you can work with, and you come up with idea, you try to validate the idea, and you present it to them. And if they like the idea, they will fund it. If they don't, then yeah, you can do it on your own, or they won't fund it, basically.
Interesting.
So
Yeah.
so like when I went there, I was exposed to a lot of things. And one thing I learned, I used to, I like something, I just work on it, and then I try to sell it to people. So I create a solution, and then I try to find a problem, where there I had to learn, and I have to really resist because I'm a doer, right? So I like to create things and do things before do a proper research. So I have to resist this. And many times I find I have a great idea, and then when we do the market research and when we talk to people, we
No one
find
wants it.
out that yeah, no one wants it,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
it's not really a big deal, or what they are doing right now, they still they can live with that. So to make them move to another solution, I have to learn that it need to be 10 times better than what they are doing right now. If it's a slightly better, or it's like 50% better, they won't make the effort to move to your solution.
Change.
And
Yeah.
that's what I find out, why I was not succeeding all this time before. So like it took me 10 years to understand that.
So
Yeah.
basically, one month or 2 months in Singapore in that program helped you a lot to progress. And
Yeah, yeah.
I saw
Maybe
recently you had like, yeah.
yeah, maybe I was told this, or I read this before, but I don't know why I couldn't grasp it. But when I was there and talking to all these people and pitching to investor, I start to kind of, okay, I get it now.
Understand, yeah. So you do a lot on the research side now for maybe a product that you're working on. I think I can, but you're still in the research mode, right, for that?
Yeah. So we're still validating the idea. Actually, I was validating few ideas before. So it
Yeah.
depends on who I partner with, because the thing there is, there is a team form, team breakup. Team form is a normal, like, for people to form teams and break up all the time. Like,
Okay.
sometime in one day you will find two teams, you know, created, and 5 teams broke up. So like it's very like.
Yeah.
Creative chaos kind of thing. Like,
Okay, I
yeah.
understand.
So I was working on something like a solution to improve conversation between parents and children. And honestly, I loved this idea. Like I was working with a master with uh, with one of my cohort members. She has a master in early childhood, and her research was on conversation between parents and children. And for me, like, I like to connect to my daughter, and in the same time I wish I understand my father, and I had time to talk to him and understand what he was going through, because my father was most of the time busy at work, and we were not close, at all. And sometimes, like, I was angry at my father, or maybe resent him, like why he never, for example, pick me from school, why he never play with me, why he never been around, like why he always go early morning, come at. Then I only start to understand that when I went to work, and I found how difficult it is actually to earn
Yeah.
living. um, but during teenage time, or maybe early youth, I had not a good relationship with him. So sometimes I like to talk to him, what was his dreams when he's child, or what he was his fears and things like that. So we were working on something like that, but we found out that yeah, it's a great idea. Maybe there's a market for it, but the investors will not invest in it. Like it was like a bummer. I really wanted to work on that. And that solution will use artificial intelligence and emotion speak recognition to understand the conversation, because it's like a host between two people, so between the parents and the child,
Like,
and it will be like on a mobile app, but it will use all of those recognition, AI recognition
like a
to,
like a AI moderator or something like that.
yeah,
Wow.
Yeah, something
Okay.
like that. So
Okay.
that
Interesting.
idea I really like to work on, but we found out that there will be no investors to back us. Then
Okay.
I moved through the few ideas. Now the last one I have is like working on a solution for creating a virtual company secretary and
Uh-huh.
doing regulation and law compliance.
Yeah. Yeah.
I still don't know for sure if there is a need for that, but I'm talking to some lawyers. I'm talking now to some company secretaries. I'm doing a survey, online survey, to talk to startups and to decide which direction we can go with this. Should we focus on SMEs or should we focus on listed companies? Because my co-founder, he has a law background and he worked in IPO, in listing companies in Hong Kong exchange market. So he has that domain experience, and I'm the tech person. So
Yeah. Yeah.
together we
Yeah,
can
that
work on.
sounds
So
interesting. Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
It sounds
so,
interesting. I was looking at the survey that you did. Maybe I can also
mm,
share it here in this
yeah,
video. And yeah, I'm for sure. I'm convinced like this kind of solutions might have potential, right? Because
mm,
wherever you have a lot of paper and people involved, there's a lot of administrative things to do, a lot of errors that can happen. That definitely AI can help to like let's
mm.
say speed up or smoothen the process a little bit.
Because like from my point of view, and I could be wrong, that I think a lot of this work is like repetitive work,
Yeah, yeah, true.
and the AI can do it easily, and it can be scaled then into, you know, to big number of companies can use it. And at the same time, I personally experienced a lot of time, you know, they send me the form and my name is written wrong, you know, like here nobody can get
Yeah.
my, or sometimes, you know, I forget to update my passport number to the company secretary.
Oh
So
yeah, yeah. Okay.
yeah, there is a lot of repetitive work which can be fully automated. Like I think company secretary business can be fully autopilot.
Hmm.
Like and like a few people can run it, and you can like have 10,000 companies as your customers, and you can charge them like very minimum fees
Yeah,
and make a good profit. And
sure.
like from my market research, like in Malaysia there is, I don't know, like I was surprised, there's 1.3 million companies registered.
Hmm. Wow,
So that's a big number. Like
that's a
this is,
big
we're
one.
talking about Malaysia. I'm planning to go in the whole Southeast Asia region, like Malaysia, Singapore, Hong Kong, at least these three countries. So we're talking about few
Awesome,
million
awesome.
of
Yeah, awesome.
potential. Like yeah.
Okay, great, great. I wish you for sure good luck and all the best with that project. I'm sure we will hear from you in this or that way. Any
Mm,
disruptive products coming up very soon. Please follow Homam on Facebook and LinkedIn and whatever other social media you share with me later
mm.
to get updates. And well, the time is already over. So maybe a last question. Currently in Malaysia, right?
Yeah.
So how you travel between? How is it possible to travel between Singapore and Malaysia? Or you stay here for the moment.
Well, so my last thing, funny thing happened. So Singapore announced that anybody coming like after Monday will need to stay at home for 14 days. So I rushed to Singapore from KL. I was visiting my family, so I rushed to
Yeah.
Singapore. And then on Tuesday, they announced that anybody coming to Malaysia, that they won't let any foreigner come back to Malaysia. So I rushed the next day back to Malaysia.
Back here. Okay.
Yeah. So like I'm kind of stuck here now, because now Singapore, if I go there, I will be stuck for 14 days, and here we are under like home stay
Also,
home,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
what they call it, like it's not a full block
Lockdown.
roadblock, but
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, we have to stay at home all the time.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
so let's hope in the future things will ease up and the number of infected people will slow down, and maybe eventually will stop. But you know,
Sure.
there's something I want to talk about. If we have quick time, like
Yeah.
short time.
1 minute, yeah,
Yeah,
or two.
1 minute. Okay. So before what's all this Corona thing, because it affected, our current program, and we have to full 100% online. So, but before I was thinking people are overreacting, and I was kind of like, why people panicking? I was like against that. I think people should relax. There's nothing serious. Like the death rate is like 0.2%. Like it's not significant enough to even worry about it. But I was reading actually yesterday of some research, and actually it changed my mind. And I want to tell people maybe Corona is not very dangerous right now, but if it keep infecting people, the virus eventually will develop itself, and it can get more deadly and deadly by time. So every time it infect one person, you are giving this virus like 1,000 or 10,000 or 1 million like lottery ticket for it to be much much more deadly than now. So if it's now under 1% of deadly cases, it can jump to 40% in matter of few months if it keep infecting more people and more people. So that's why we need to stay safe and stay at home. Thanks.
Okay, very good. I like that. Thank you so much for this closing words. I agree with you. Let's stay home. Let's stay safe for the time being, and hope to beat this virus in this way. So thank you very much, Homam. Again, very honored, and I'm very happy you made it to this first interview. I hope soon we can do physical interviews again. I don't have to use this online tools. It's still nice. Very
it's the new
interesting.
norm now.
Yeah, it's a new norm. Yes, still very interesting. Thank you so much for sharing your experience, your life, your stories, and stay safe. All the best, and I hope I see you soon again, Omar.
Thank you very much, Patrick. It's a great honor. Thanks.
Thanks. Okay. Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Okay. Bye.
This episode was brought to you by Hopnop. Hopnop is a community of like-minded professionals, freelancers, entrepreneurs, founders, business owners, and local influencers that meet monthly at unique venues to network, mix, and mingle. Live networking events are the best way to meet new people in your city and make new connections. Hopnop, your network is your net worth. Grow your circle of influence.